Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratascharteshvabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Parerishvaraha Sadyo Hridya Varudya Tetra Kritibi Shushrushu Bistakshanat. Hari Om and greetings from Niagara Falls. Bhagavan's wealth is the one who does not need wealth. God's asset is the one who doesn't depend on assets. Think why. If someone depends on assets, if someone depends on wealth, that becomes their focus and not on the higher, not on service, not on knowing the Creator. But those who are independently joyous, wealth comes, wealth goes. Position comes, position goes. That person is free to focus on the higher. That person is free to love God. Now, as you hear this, it may sound very poetic. I'll change the words. Someone who depends on pleasure, possession, position is thoughtless. Why are they thoughtless? Because they're not realizing that pleasure, that possession, that position doesn't last. It's unstable. And the one who focuses on peace is thoughtful. That person is tired of being tired. He's tired of feeling stress and anxiety. They want to be relieved. They want to rest. So they know they can only find that with that which lasts. And only the Creator lasts, not creation. Our course, Vedanta and Bhagavatam, is a reality check. You know, when you get your annual physical checkup, that's really a reality check also, right? About how our BMI, our body mass index, is not aligned. That's our annual reality check. Our course is a reality check on how are you trying to find peace? And if you're doing this through the Creator, doing this through your own nature, you are thoughtful. Srimad Bhagavatam is for the thoughtful. The third skanda is all about creation. In Sanatana Dharma, how many creation theories are there? How many did I say? 64. There are 64 theories on creation. In Srimad Bhagavatam, what you should understand, okay, 3 words, okay? Ready? Potential, awareness, expression. Potential, awareness, expression. Every one of us has potential. We have potential to speak. We have potential to run. We have potential to think. And when you're aware of that potential, what do? You start to express it. If you're not aware of your potential, you don't express it. Yes. This is what creation is like. Potential is Bhagavan. The awareness of that potential is Maya. And the expression of that awareness is Srishti. So Bhagavan, through Maya, presents Srishti. This defies logic. I know you're thinking about this logically. It's beyond logic. Perhaps a way to understand this is thinking about a dream. In a dream, that whole dream population, the trees, the dogs, the humans, who created all of that? You did. Who's experiencing all of that? You did. In a dream, your potential is there and you become aware of it. You keep on elaborating on that dream, that the tree is like this and there's a garden beside it and it's in this country. And that's all creation is? I share again and again and again, the implication of this is, don't be so serious. Everything keeps changing. Why be serious about it? You know that your seriousness is mixed up when you feel stress. If you ever feel stress in your life, you're taking that which is not to be taken seriously, seriously. And if you ever feel cheerful, you are taking that which is to be taken seriously, your happiness, seriously. Feeling stress versus feeling cheer. There are a whole lot of questions and a whole lot of answers in Srimad Bhagavatam. I had mentioned that Vidura is known as a Mahatma. He asks almost 100 questions. And who's answering him? Rishi Maitreya. I'll share, say halfway between these answers, Rishi Vidura says, Hari Om, and he leaves. Now imagine you ask me for my time and you ask me all of these questions and I start answering them. And in between me answering them, you just leave. Seems quite disrespectful, no? So how come Mahatma Vidura left? Because he understood the essence of those answers. The essence is all that we experience in creation comes back to the Creator. He didn't need all of his questions to be answered. Devotion was created. He didn't need to get into the technicalities. The implication of this for all of us, evolution is when you have less questions. You know that you are spiritually evolving when you have less questions. You've become more faithful. You're simply following the process. I'd read a quote that said, a parent doesn't appreciate their parents until they become parents, correct? Now, if you have kids who are not parents, you know they don't appreciate you, correct? But as soon as they become a parent, you start to realize they're starting to appreciate the sacrifice that is made, correct? At that point, that parent, that new parent, starts to accept their parents more for the decisions they made, or how they raised them. But until then, why? Why? Who do you know? Why do you know better? But once they have that experience, they don't have as many questions. We continue in the 3rd skanda. We're now on the 12th adhyaya, the 12th chapter. And I'm reading the 2nd shloka, lines 1 and 2, 3:12-2. Samsarjagnendata misram atata misramadhikrita mahamoham cha moham cha tamascha jnan vrittayaha. Here, Rishi Maitreya shares that Bhagavan Brahma, when he created, he made a mistake. Bhagavan Brahma actually created ignorance. And in this line, the 5 expressions of ignorance are shared. There's moha, there's andhata. So I'm going to get to that. There's a lot that happens in between. Rishi Maitreya tells Mahatma Vidura that Bhagavan Narayana created this lotus from his navel. What's the famous mandir in Kerala that's about Bhagavan like this? Padmanabha, the famous Padmanabha temple in Kerala. That this lotus is created. And who's seated in that lotus? Bhagavan Brahma. This lotus is the raw material that Bhagavan Vishnu has provided. Then Bhagavan Brahma uses that raw material to create more. Now, if we think about everything in our lives, all that we've created, this ashram, your homes, suppose you're a designer, you make clothes, you made kids. Where did all of that raw material come from? You didn't create earth. Where did earth come from, right? You never created that raw material. You only created with the material provided to you, which shows that all that comes in our lives, we owe all of it, or at least a portion of it, to the one who gave us those raw materials. A sperm and an egg creating a child. Where did that egg come from? Where did that sperm come from? How did 2 cells become what we are now? So poetically, this is shared in Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a description also about when creation ends. There's 3 types of pralaya. So fascinating. One type of pralaya is called nitya pralaya. It is the dissolution that happens regularly. What is nitya pralaya? Sleep. When we go to sleep, that's called nitya pralaya. When you're asleep, is there any creation? You don't know who you are. This is when we go back to the earth. You know, when you don't want to be vertical anymore, you just want to be horizontal. That's nitya pralaya. Naimittika pralaya is when Bhagavan Brahma goes to sleep. Naimittika pralaya. And what's fascinating about this is some of the worlds are dissolved, but not all of them. And you know how some of these worlds are dissolved? By fire. There are 14 worlds or dimensions. Some of them are dissolved by fire. And now the most comprehensive pralaya is known as prakrita pralaya. Prakrita, and that's when Bhagavan Narayana goes to sleep. And that's not a destruction by fire, it's a destruction by water. So, there's 3 types of pralaya. When we go to sleep, Bhagavan Brahma goes to sleep, and Bhagavan Narayana goes to sleep. One by earth, one by fire, one by water. So all of that distinction is made. Now, when this pralaya is over, creation begins. In this portion of Srimad Bhagavatam, matter is highlighted first. So try to tune into this. It's really interesting. When Bhagavan Brahma creates, he creates 6 types of plants. Plants are highlighted first. 6 types of plants. Plants are described as those where the nourishment comes from downwards up. That's what a plant is, that which comes from downwards upwards. And plants react, but their reactions are kept inside. Photosynthesis is a reaction, correct? But it's kept inside. All of those details are given. 56 types of animals are created. 56 types. Animals are described as those who live by smell. Yes? Animals live by smell, and they live by instinct. So now all of us who are foodies, that's the same as living by smell, isn't it? Plants react inside, animals react outside. They're instinctive. So whenever someone honks at you and you honk back, maybe we're one of those 56 types of animals. There's only one type of human. One type of humans. Humans are described as where nourishment goes from upwards downwards. Isn't that interesting? Our nourishment comes from up and then goes out downwards. And you're going to love this. Humans are described as those who are addicted. Addicted to work and addicted to sadness. Addicted to work. We keep working to try to be happier. But we never find that. We only trick ourselves into thinking our misery is actually happiness. That's what a human is. Addicted. And then one more. There's 8 types of superhumans. 8 types of superhumans like the Devas, the Gandharvas. You know, there's amazing bands in the world. The Beatles were amazing. Led Zeppelin was amazing. Pearl Jam is amazing. But the Gandharvas, they're super bands. They're the celestial musicians. They just imagine the instrument and it comes. They don't have to go and buy those instruments. Okay, so I told you, this is how creation ends. Now I'm talking about creation. We first started with matter. Now we get to space. Please try to tune into the magnitude of space. The smallest unit of creation, does anyone know? In science, what's the smallest unit of creation? An atom or an electron, the God particle, correct? That's even smaller. We have a name for that. It's called Paramanu. Paramanu is that which cannot be reduced anymore. It is the irreducible unit of space. Paramanu. That's the micro. Now the universe is described. Here's how big the universe is, okay? 50 crore yojana. In English, what's a crore? 10 million. A crore is 10 million. So what's 50 times 10 million? Everyone's looking at me like, we don't get spirituality, we don't get mathematics. I think it's 500 million, correct? 500 million? How far is a yojana? Some say 8 miles, some say 9 miles. For simplicity, let's think 10 miles. So one universe is 500 million times 10 miles. So that puts us at 5 billion miles, correct? Sounds reasonable? Now that's just this universe. Outside of this universe, there's different layers. There's the earth layer, there's the water layer, the fire layer, the air layer, and the space layer. Each one is 10 times bigger than that which is inside. So if our multiverse is 500 billion miles, another layer exists that's 10 times bigger. How big is that? 50 billion. 10 times bigger than that? 500 billion. That's one universe. One Brahmanda. How many universes are there? See, we no longer call it a universe. We call it a multiverse. Science is also accepted. There's not one universe. There's a multiverse. In Bhagavatam, Each of these Brahmandas is a Paramanu in reference to Bhagavan Vishnu. So imagine how big it is, but compared to Bhagavan Vishnu, it's just a Paramanu. So matter is described, space is described. Now I'm going to talk about time. Matter, space, time. Time is measured in Bhagavatam in relation to the sun. How long matter and space takes to pass in front of the sun is how time is measured. For our reference, in a day, how many yamas are there? How many days yamas are there in a day? 8. There's 8 yamas in a day, which are approximately 3 hours. What yama should you be waking up in? The 3 to 6 a.m. yama. If not, the 6 to 9 a.m. yama. You know, that level of detail is given. Now when you go to university, that's when you start studying is at that sleeping time yama. So that's at a micro level. Now I'm going to take this to the macro. This is so fascinating. 360 human years. How long are all of us going to live? Maybe 80. Let's say 80, 100. 360 human years is one divine year. One divine year. 4.32 million human years. 4.32 million human years is a Chatur Yuga. A Chatur Yuga. Chatuhu means 4. What are the yugas? Krita, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. So from Krita to the end of Kali is 4.32 million years. That's a Chatur Yuga. So far, so good? Okay. 2,000 Chatur Yugas. My calculator stopped here. I couldn't do anything at this point. 2,000 Chatur Yugas is known as one day of Bhagavan Brahma. One day of Bhagavan Brahma's 2,000 Chatur Yugas. So far, so good. 360 of Bhagavan Brahma's days equals one of Bhagavan Brahma's years. 360 of Bhagavan Brahma's years, and this is the important point, is one nimisha of Bhagavan Narayana. What does nimisha mean? Wink. One wink. These numbers, any device I have cannot calculate. And that's just one wink of Bhagavan Brahma. So does it make more sense to find happiness in creation? Or instead, we can go behind creation to the Creator, who's really that which is macro, the magnanimous. Now I come to the 5 types of ignorance. I told you Bhagavan Brahma made a mistake. He did a lot of right things. He created matter, space, time. Whenever we study ignorance, we think of ignorance as just one form, but there's actually 5 expressions of ignorance. So here they are. As I share these, I want you to put your hand up if this describes you. Okay, this will be like a silent auction. I can't hear you, but I can see you. If this describes you, you can put your hand up. The first is tamas. Tamas is when you forget that your nature is happiness. Anyone? It seems like the Niagara group is all enlightened. They're all sitting like this. Okay. Moha is when you think you are the body. Anyone? When you think you're the body, moha. Okay. Mahamoha is when you live your life for pleasure. Mahamoha, anyone? No all-inclusive vacations? You don't think that's Mahamoha? You don't think a duvet is Mahamoha? A heated seat is Mahamoha? Then, Tamisra, when you don't get your pleasure, what do you experience? Anger. Anger, anyone? We'll change it that. If you keep your hand down, that applies to you. Tamisra is when you don't get your pleasure, so there's anger. And the fifth modification is called Anda Tamisra. Anda Tamisra is when you get pleasure, but that pleasure ends and you feel lost. No? For some of us, think about it. Don't think about this technically. When you've achieved something great in your life and now you've achieved it, what do you think to yourself? Now what? What next? You finish one degree, you do another degree. You start one business, you start another business. You have one kid, you have another kid. You get it, it's gone, and then you just feel lost. Skanda 3 is about creation. There's a whole lot of chapters on creation, and I'm trying to highlight the details of these details so that we understand how truthful this all is, how relevant this all is. We'll study one more shloka, and that will be the completion of our study for a long period. I'm on the 12th chapter still, and I'm reading the 52nd shloka, lines 1 and 2. Kasya rupam abhudveda yat kayam abhichakshate tabhyam rupa vibhagabhyam mithunam samapadyata. Bhagavan Brahma divided his body into two. And half of his body became male, and half of his body became female. And then males and females coming together became how creation continued. That's what's shared in here. The original male and female, that the exact name is given here. So I'll share some details here. Bhagavan Brahma, his responsibility is to take that lotus and to further it. Here in Niagara, we had a Matra Puja, and I keep reminding all of us, because we all have parents, the purpose of being a child is to further the happiness of your parent. If you're not furthering the happiness of your parent, that would be like Bhagavan Brahma not engaging in his responsibilities, correct? It's our responsibility to bring more glory to our parents. When people meet our parents, they should say, oh, that's your son or daughter. In a happy way, not, oh, that's your son or daughter. The first children of Bhagavan Brahma, who knows? The first children of Bhagavan Brahma, they have four names. They are Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara. So if you're looking for kids' names, these are the original names. Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Sanata Kumara. Now these kids, they were contemplative kids. They were happy. And Bhagavan Brahma said, go play outside. They said, no, we're going to sit and contemplate. So they never engaged in creation. So then Bhagavan Brahma got angry. When he got angry, his eyebrows, they became furrowed. You know, like Bharatanatyam dancers do that sometimes. They express their anger like that. And out of his eyebrows came a bluish, reddish being that was crying. And that being's name is Rudra. The first Devata that Bhagavan Brahma created is Rudra. The one who engages in Rodihi, the one who cries, makes other people cry, is Rudra. So you're following along. The Sanat Kumaras, the 4 sons, they didn't engage in creation, so Bhagavan Brahma got angry. Rudra was born. Bhagavan Brahma said, Rudra, start to create. Now, what kind of beings did Rudra create? All of the Ganas. You know, the people who serve Bhagavan Shiva, the ghosts, the goblins, someone has a head, someone has one eye, all of those types of beings. So Bhagavan Brahma said, stop. Now you stop creating. We have to bring some balance into creation. So then Bhagavan Brahma created the 10 Rishis. These 10 Rishis, we've heard so many of their names, like Rishi Vashishta. He's a son. He's a child of Bhagavan Brahma. Throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, there's lots of narrations and details about these 10 Rishis. So I'm just going to leave that there. Bhagavan Brahma's Rishis, certainly they engaged in creation. And Bhagavan Brahma, he tried to help these Rishis by giving them more material. So from each of his faces came the Veda. These Rishis used the Veda to further creation. And what's a lovely detail here is, what came out of all of the faces combined? The Itihasas and Puranas. See, the Rig Veda came out of one face, but what we're studying came as a collection of all of the faces. We are actually studying the essence of all 4 Vedas. From each of Bhagavan Brahma's faces came the 4 parts of Dharma. Anyone who wants to be responsible, anyone who wants to live cheerfully, has to follow these 4. What are they? Vidya. You have to bring more knowledge about who you are into your life. Dana. You have to share that knowledge. You have to help others share that knowledge. Tapa. Tapa means to expand one's comfort zones. We can't just love our family. We have to love our community, our society. And Satya. We have to be truthful in our thinking, in our words, in our actions. What else came from Bhagavan Brahma? How else did he help the Rishis? Swaraha Sapta Visharena. Through Bhagavan Brahma's movements came the Sapta Swaras. For all of those who engage in singing, Bhagavan Brahma moved and those 7 musical notes came. Now finally, Bhagavan Brahma felt that creation was moving too slowly. One set of kids, including Rishi Narada, they weren't creating. One set of kid, Rudra, was creating but in a different way. The Rishis are creating, and he's helping them create, but he feels he's not helping or doing what Bhagavan Narayana wants most of him. So here, in his hoping to do God's work, his body naturally divided in 2. So who really created man and woman? The material is Bhagavan Brahma, remember. The material is Bhagavan Brahma, but who's the one who is actually willing all of this? Bhagavan Narayana. When Bhagavan Brahma's body divided in 2, it was known as Kaya. Kaya is a Sanskrit word for body. Ka means Brahma. Aya means what belongs to. So does your body belong to you? Your body belongs to Bhagavan Brahma. And who does Bhagavan Brahma belong to? Bhagavan Narayana. So can you overeat then? In a hotel, before you check in, don't they take your credit card? That if you smoke in this room, if you steal a pillow from this room, they're going to charge you, correct? That doesn't belong to you. This doesn't belong to us either. We have to keep this totally healthy, in shape, to respect this because it belongs to someone else. Kaya. These two parts are known as Puman and Stri. Puman and Stri. This Puman and Stri were actually given names. That Puman's name is Manu. And the Stri's name is Shatarupa. Manu and Shatarupa are the first human beings. Manu and Shatarupa. Manu Putra iti Manava. What are humans called? Manava. The word Manava means we are putras and putris of Manu. And what does Shatarupa mean? Shatarupa means the one who becomes many, many, many forms. Correct? So Bhagavan Brahma, through Manu and Shatarupa, became you and me. So here's where we complete this period of study of Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we come back to our study, who are we going to meet? Varaha, Bhagavan Varaha. Siyavara Ramachandra ki, Pavanasuta Hanuman ki, Umapati Mahadeva ki, Bolo Bhai Sab Santan ki, आज की आनंद की